Hey, what's up guys, Hans here. In this video, we will talk about what you have to keep in mind when searching for and setting up a contract with your self-storage customers. In particular, we will have a look at which important terms and conditions you have to use in your contracts so that your liability is minimized to a minimum. As a disclaimer up front, I'm not a lawyer, and what I'm saying in this video is not meant to give you any legal advice. Therefore, please check in with your local lawyer and discuss the subject and your finalized contract in detail with him or her. Also, as I am based in Germany, the legal environment and judicial system is very different to, let's say, the US. Therefore, keep in mind that the conditions might differ. But now, let's get into the video. Let's rewind. Let me just quickly elaborate on what I used the contract for and how the process of signing the contract actually works. Whenever a new renter wants to rent out one of my storage spaces, I send them the contract via email. In the contract, and we will talk about this here in a second, their personal information such as their personal address or their phone number needs to be inserted. Also, they obviously do need to sign the document, preferably digitally. Then the customers need to send it back to me via email, in addition to a copy of their IDs. And then they can basically start renting out my storage space. But before we get deeper into this, let us have a look at the contract I have been using for my self-storage business and how I found a suitable template. I've been using different versions of this template for roughly 2 to 3 years now, and I have consecutively amended and expanded the legal terms set in this contract, again with the aim of minimizing the liability to a minimum. First, let me quickly elaborate on how I found my first version of the contract, and that is a suitable template. As anyone would do, I started Googling for a template of a contract for self-storage purposes. And obviously, as I'm living in Germany, I searched for a German template. After having skimmed through a couple of documents, I just chose the best option. I wanted to have a rather short and uncomplicated contract which touches on the main aspects of my self-storage business. And after having chosen this version, I changed up a few things, and we will talk about this here in a second. And I have then booked an appointment with my lawyer, who is astonishingly also a tax advisor, which is a highly valued job over here in Germany. Anyways, we discussed the contract and made a few changes which she deemed important and which further minimized my liability. And that's pretty much how I came up with the contract. Overall, discussing the contract with my lawyer did cost me around 100 euros, so it's really not bad at all. But now let's get into the details of the document. For this purpose, I have translated my German version of the contract, which I usually use, to English. But now let's just scroll through the document, in which I highlighted a few sections. Alright guys, so what you can see here is my 4-page contract which I use for my self-storage business. Ignore this header up here, this is just due to the translation. I was using DeepL, which I can, by the way, highly recommend for translating any documents or any text. But now let's get into the document itself. So as you can see down here, this is a 4-page contract, so it's really slim, I would say. But let's just start off with the top here. It says storage container rental contract. Obviously, you need to specify who you are renting the storage space to. So obviously this would be my name and my address down here, and then the customer's address and name over here, as well as some contact details. First, let's talk about the subject of the lease. You obviously do need to specify where the container is located, so you would insert the exact address over here. You also do need to specify which container you are renting out. In my case, as you can see in this example, this would be container number 9, which is a 20-foot shipping container. And this is basically the first paragraph. Also, purpose of the lease, you need to make sure that the rental space is being used as a warehouse and not, for example, as a location for people to sleep in. Also, as you can see down here, I demand that the renters do not put any prohibited items into these containers, such as flammable and explosive, radiant, or whatever items into these containers, just to make sure that my liability is, again, minimized to a minimum. And this is pretty much the second paragraph. If we go to the third paragraph, you can see that this one specifies the rental period and termination terms. So you obviously do need to specify when the rental begins. how long the minimum rental period is, and you can change that up as you wish. My minimum rental period is usually 6 months, so this is how much I put in there. With regard to the termination, I specify that my customers need to let me know 6 weeks in advance whenever they want to cancel or terminate the rental, and this usually gives me enough time to find a new renter for my shipping container. Also, this is one of the conditions I added later on. I want to have the flexibility of terminating the contract from my side within 2 weeks. So you can see that there's a divergence in the termination clauses. So in summary, I can terminate the contract within 2 weeks. My renters can terminate the contract within 6 weeks only. Let's get to the fourth paragraph. You do need to specify the exact amount of rent which needs to be paid. So this is pretty much this aspect. And then also the payment of the rent. I usually demand that they pay it via a regular bank transfer. So you would have to put in your bank information over here. Also, with regards to the rental security, now let's move to paragraph 6. I demand from my customers that they send me a deposit of 350 euros via bank transfer if possible. And then after their rental period, they obviously do get their deposit back if nothing happened and if the container is still in a good condition. Now let's get to the paragraph number 7, liability, a really important paragraph. If you're interested in this, make sure to just pause the video and skim through the text just so you know what I'm exactly specifying in here. However, I would just like to quickly highlight the points mentioned mentioned down here, 7 through 9. What I'm saying here is that I'm recommending the renter to get an insurance against theft, damage, loss, or whatever. And I want to make sure that the renter does know that I'm not insuring anything of my properties and also their properties against what I just mentioned, meaning theft, damage, or whatever. So I think this is a really important point. And also number 8, that I am not liable in case of burglary or theft whenever somebody would break into my container. Never happened before, however, I just want to make sure that my liability is, again, minimized. Point number 7, I'm also specifying that I'm not liable for liquid damage caused by water penetration or condensation, which might happen in containers. It never really happened with any of my containers. However, I just, again, want to minimize my liability in case water enters into these shipping containers. So next, let's have a look at paragraph number 8, repairs and structural changes by the landlord. What I'm saying here is that the renter can actually do some minor repairs and structural changes which are necessary for the storage container. However, whenever that would be a larger repair or any other structural change, a larger one, I specified that the renter needs to contact me and needs my approval to do so. Also, if we do have a look at paragraph number 9, I want to have the ability to always have a look at the property and especially also the shipping containers themselves. So I did insert the condition that I can always go into the shipping containers themselves. I've actually never made use of that. However, this is just I think, valuable condition to have in the contract. Also, paragraph number 10, again, if you do want to read through the text, make sure to pause the video real quick and then read through it. But what this paragraph says is that the renter is being charged whenever they leave whatever stuff in the shipping containers themselves, and that I could basically just throw away their stuff and they would have to cover the expenses for that. Paragraph 11, electricity and heating is possible. However, I need to approve it and then the customers would be charged separately. However, this is never made use of this one either. And then lastly, paragraph 12 is really not that important. In paragraph 13, value of stored goods, I like to have an indication of the value that is stored within my shipping containers. As I'm renting this out, I do want to know whether there are really highly valuable things in this container which I'm renting out, to then maybe let them know again that their property is not really insured or is not insured at all. From my side, to give the hint again that the renter should get an appropriate insurance for that. And that is pretty much it. This is where the tenant or the renter needs to sign, and this is mine. Alright guys, that's the end of this week's video. If you're interested in this subject and how my self-storage business actually works, subscribe to this channel. Also, if you found this video helpful, make sure to hit the like button below. Are you thinking about setting up your own self-storage business? Then let me know in the comment section below, and also let me know exactly where you want to set it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.